Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Lunch Bros Podcast, episode number 54. I am Brendan.
And I'm Nate.
We got UFC 261 coming up this weekend. Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2.
Try
The
to sound more
headliner.
excited about it.
Hey, that was a lot of excitement.
I know. I was actually I had that like geared up, ready to go, and then you actually talked. You didn't give me what I wanted, but I threw it out there anyway.
Yeah, I'm a yes and kind of guy.
You surprised me there.
So, Usman's fighting Masvidal for the second time. For those of you guys who didn't watch the first one, you're probably not the. Yeah, I mean, oh, by the way, sorry.
Unless you just like love watching Usman win, and yeah, all right, you go back and watch it.
For those guys who are just tuning in for the first time, make sure you like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. Tell your friends about it. More people that comment on this and like interact with us, the more things we have to talk about, the better. I think it's fantastic. And again, shout out as usual to Hassam and Nathan for commenting every week and giving me something more to think about and talk about. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to ask, how does Masvidal win this fight? Because I think that's more of an interesting conversation than us both saying that we think Usman's going to win again. So how does Masvidal win this fight?
All right. I actually do think there's a legitimate path to victory for Masvidal.
Does it involve a baseball bat or some sort of vehicle?
No. And it will be something that neither of us are expecting.
He's going to wrestle.
He's going to wrestle. No, Masvidal is an extremely intelligent fighter. He has a good camp behind him. If there's something that he has gone back and identified in the tape that Usman does, if he is able to kind of pick out a weakness or pick out something he can exploit and take a big shot at that moment, I think he can essentially his capability of pulling a Bang Askren again. Maybe not to that level of extreme.
Oh, 1 in 1,000 shot.
Something that he has identified in Usman as a weakness, drilled, prepared, and gone into this fight saying, all right, here's my shot. I've just got to wait for this moment and take it. I don't think it's probably not going to be like an opening shot like that, but it will be something that he's identified in Usman that he's going to try and exploit. Whether or not he's successful, who knows? But that would be my number one way Masvidal wins is a big shot no one sees coming that he has been preparing throughout the camp.
All right. So I would counter that saying
there's plenty of counters to it.
So no. I'm countering what you're saying with like how I would counter that. Not saying that like, oh, Usman's just going to win because he's better. I'm not going to be a dick. What I'm saying is Trevor Weidman is in Usman's corner, right? He also has a very good coach who is very good at game planning. And if I'm going to put money on a coach who's good at coming up with a game plan versus like another coach in the UFC, I'll take Weidman a lot of the time. And in this scenario, coming up with a unique game plan that's slightly different from the last time they fought, giving him, a different look, I think that would be beneficial and probably has been drilled and talked about.
Yes.
So I think Masvidal can win a legit fight. Like a decision. Now, okay, do I think that's going to happen? Obviously not. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Neither one of us think that's going to happen. Right?
Nope.
After the 5 rounds of a shit show that we saw last time. So I think he can win that fight if he can do what he was doing. He had really good moments against Usman. If he can get Usman to break the game plan, I don't know how he does it, but if he can do that, if he just does something that breaks him out of the game plan, just frustrates him, doing things that piss him like Usman off and break him out of his game plan and force him into like a shitty brawl, because Masvidal was dodging a lot of shots from Usman and he was landing honestly the better shots on the feet. So he can win a decision. Now, why I don't think that's going to happen, and obviously I think your scenario is always possible. I think, him identifying a weakness, something that's very evident that Usman does all the time, and finding an opening and taking advantage of it. I think that's always available. I think Masvidal could land a big shot at any time. He does have good cardio, and he could definitely knock Usman down on the ground and get a TKO finished. So, other than that, Masvidal, I've stated this before, I don't think he's different. I don't think this new Masvidal that we're seeing is any different than the old Masvidal, other than he's more popular now among more casual fans. He's still the guy who, when pressed with upper level talent, tends to come out on the wrong side in close fights because he just doesn't put his foot on the gas. He just takes too long. He's being too analytical, and he's trying to be too smart for his own good and doesn't want to get caught in brawls or whatever. And he fights some of the cleanest fights I've ever seen, but that's part of the problem. Sometimes when you want to win, like, you got to do stuff that doesn't look clean. You got to go in there and do some dirty boxing. You got to go in there and make some nasty, like, you got to do foot stomps against the cage when you push the guy over there. You don't need to do that. I hate that technique. Anyway, Usman did it last time. It's not a fight finishing technique. Like, you can't win via foot stomps unless you break the guy's toe.
I was gonna say not a toe, but a metatarsal.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think foot stomps are stupid. I think it's the equivalent of taking someone's toe and bending it with your hand, which is illegal. Small joint manipulation is illegal. I would rather you
knee me while I'm ground than stomp on my foot. If you break someone's metatarsal, that's gonna fuck up their training for a while.
Yeah.
And foot injuries are hard to come back from.
Sure. I don't mean it like in a macho way, like that's such a bitch move. I just mean, as far as effective techniques go in MMA, I personally, out of the thousands of fights that I have seen, I have never seen a foot stomp change the course of the fight. I have seen jabs. I have seen takedowns. I have seen slams. I have seen submission attempts. I have seen palm strikes. I have seen strikes from the bottom. I've seen up kicks. I have seen all the techniques that can be effective sometimes. I've seen close-in strikes when someone is being held, like, the downward, the elbow to the side of the head. I have seen strikes from every position imaginable in every scenario possible in MMA that has occurred, that's not true. I have seen a lot. I have a large sample size, and in none of those did a foot stomp change the course of the fight.
All right, here's where it falls for me. Similar to, like, side kick to the knee, or that kind of oblique kick to the knee.
That can fuck up your knee, and that's a good technique, and also keeps distance.
That's a good distance keeper. It does keep distance, but it's one of those things that makes me cringe. It makes me cringe when someone does that.
I don't like it. Yeah, because it's that kick is essentially just trying to injure your opponent's joints, which is the object of a submission, right? Like, you're trying to manipulate a joint in order to give the opponent enough pain to where they quit.
With the submission, when you're holding it, you can do it in a way to where you get them to submit before you cause damage. When you do
they have the ability to quit.
Yeah. When you do the oblique or side kick to a knee, it's a pretty much you either tore their ACL or you didn't, or you fucking tore a patella. Like, there's no in between.
Cracked their patella.
Yeah, but that's why that's why it makes me cringe, because I'm just like, you land that right. That's
there's I'm okay. I'm actually okay with a lot of techniques in MMA. I really am. I think
there's a lot that I would rather have than that.
Sure, and I'm open to almost everything being legal. Within. I don't think even within reason. I think if you allowed headbutts, I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't think a lot of people would do it.
No, that's the point. Is you would also not. You just wouldn't put yourself in a position to be headbutted.
Yeah, it would also make someone going for a rear naked choke a little bit more complicated. Which is
bam.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the point. Is there's certain techniques that I think would be okay to do because there would be a defense and a positional awareness that you would just have already in place for that thing. The reason I don't like foot stomps isn't because like I think they're dirty. It's because I think it's not in that sequence. Like, I guess you can make the argument that you're getting the opponent to change their position or change the focus. But in that case, like, you could just fucking juggle. Like, hey, I'm distracting you. Like, that's the effect, like the same effect for me is like you're trying to distract the opponent from what you're actually trying to do. Like, and I get it. That's fine. I hate when I see it. I really do. Like when I see someone do a foot stomp, I instantly think like, fuck you. Like, I hate you. Like you could have done literally anything else in this moment. You could have you could have kneed me to the thigh. You could have brought your knee up. You could have punched me, elbowed me, punched me to the gut, gone for a submission, changed position. But no, you lifted your leg up and put it down on the ground real fast. And my foot just happened to be there. Like, screw you, dude. So I think Usman wins this fight out of 10, I would say 9 out of 10 times, 99 out of 100 even. I think the problem with Masvidal versus Usman is that Masvidal's biggest advantage in a 5-round fight is his cardio versus,
Usman's
another welterweight. But that's what I'm saying is like in this scenario, Usman has some of the best cardio in the welterweight division. You're not going to break his cardio like that, especially wrestling. Like and his striking has gotten a lot better.
Game planning, it's just not. It's not a good matchup for Masvidal, and I would argue there's a lot of bad matchups for him in the top 5 of that division.
Yeah, and none of them make him more money than this, so I know why he took it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a no-brainer for him to take, but
yeah, stupid.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, so I think Usman. I'm picking Usman to win that one. All right, so we got the women's strawweight fight. We got
I'm picking
Zhang
Jorge.
Weili.
Let's see what happens.
Huh? Oh, you're gonna pick Jorge?
I'm picking Jorge. I think he fucking pulls the street Jesus and walks on water and drowns Camaro in it.
Street Jesus, get the. All right, we got Zhang Weili fighting Rose Namajunas. Leading up to this fight, Rose has made some comments, about the Communist Party, saying how Zhang doesn't have the ability to speak freely. She's being told what to say by the Communist Party. She's bringing back that phrase, better dead than red.
I mean, yeah, no shit. I mean, that she's not wrong.
Well, but that's the thing is like people are mad at Rose because they're like, oh, that's so racist. And like, how dare she hate Zhang for that? And like never once did she say she hates Zhang. Never once.
It's not a race thing. I mean, you can speak poorly about the Japanese government when you're from Japan, and it might affect you with popularity with Japanese audiences, but the Japanese government's not going to sanction you.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Throw your family in jail and put them in a concentration camp. So,
Yeah, like I've heard what Rose was saying, and her information for why she's against communism is a little. She doesn't speak very well, right? She doesn't articulate her thoughts very well. I think she's I don't think she's a stupid person or anything like that. I just think her ability to communicate what she's thinking in a way that makes sense to everyone else it just doesn't come out very well. So
I think all right, without getting into socioeconomic debates, hating China or speaking bad about China because they're communists is not a good argument. They're an authoritarian government, single party, with very little room for dissent, and the level of constraint that the government has on their own citizens has been demonstrated to be very little for rights, privileges, and freedoms that they're willing to grant their own citizens.
Yes.
What they're willing to do to them. That's the crux of the problem. You can argue back and forth about what types of socioeconomic systems lead to that type of development within a government, but regardless, you're dealing with an authoritarian government that is absolutely horrible to their own citizens.
Yeah, and I'm seeing people say stuff about Rose like, oh, I hope she gets her ass kicked for saying this stuff. Like, you guys are all being ridiculous. Like, you don't have to like her or Zhang. What she's saying isn't here. Okay, here's another thing.
Well,
if I were to say that the Chinese government has put together camps where they take children away from their families in order to make them athletes, would that be racist?
No.
No, because that's what they were doing. Where do you think would if I said that they picked the two tallest people from China and got them together to have a child, and his name was Yao Ming, would that be racist? No, it's not. It's because that's what happened. Like the government is running sports programs in order to like excel in certain athletic events, and it's not unrealistic to say that those people in the public eye are being, told what not to say. Maybe not they're not like told what to say like constantly or given like a script to follow, but I guarantee you they're censored in that like, hey, you just don't say this about, you don't say this about the Communist Party. You don't say this about the government. You don't say this about China. You don't say this about blah, blah, blah. Right?
I would argue they are given a script.
I'm not going to go. I'm not going to say that because like I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. But to come out and like
when they feel they need to give someone a script, they give them a script.
Sure. I mean, again, I'm not going to disagree with you because like they might have done that in the past and they might be doing that now. And in fact, I guarantee you they've done that in the past. It's not, a lot of governments probably have. I don't care. The point is, like you said, they're an authoritarian government and they have a stranglehold on, what comes out of their country as far as like documentation, journalism and things like that. And that means, not letting the people who are in the public eye, like I said, say certain things, right? Like if there's a famine, this is not happening. It's not happening. But like, let's say there's a famine. I'm pretty sure the Chinese government's not going to be like, oh yeah, go ahead and tell everybody about it. They're like, shut the fuck up. Like you don't tell anybody this is happening. This is not happening. Everybody's doing fine.
All right. Well, I mean, like this is happening. Hong Kong.
Yeah.
They will, if you even try and spark a little bit of dissent, whether or not you're Chinese. Look at what happened with the NBA.
Cowards.
Yeah. China shut them down like they were yelling at like a fucking puppy they just adopted.
Corporate chills is what they are. And the corporation is the Chinese government.
They will absolutely unequivocally shut down dissent.
Yeah, and I'm not here to say that like oh my God. So like, I'm not here to say Zhang is like a bad person. There's no indication that she is. And I'm not rooting against her or for her because of anything like that.
I have nothing wrong with her succeeding, her being champion in the UFC. I also don't know what she actually feels in her heart.
No, me either. I think what she says, she's a very nice person. She's very respectful about her opponents and everything else. Like she doesn't seem like a bad person.
It would be an impossible situation to be a famous athlete coming out of China, having your family, having everything rooted in there, and having to grapple with the success that you worked your entire life for. And the pressure that other people are going to put on you to speak out against the government that you're representing and the government that is where your family resides, where generations of family. Like that's an impossible situation for her to be in. And I think that's something that Rose should maybe at least give a little bit more credence for, because ultimately, I don't know how much she's actually talked to Wei Li. But like in private, if you talk to Wei Li, I don't know what she would say about her government. I don't know what she would feel comfortable saying versus what she feels she has to say publicly. Like it's a hard situation to put someone in. So that's why that would be where I'd criticize Rose, not calling her racist, not, saying how dare you. It's, well, hold on. Put yourself in her shoes.
Yeah. And then like the people are saying like, oh, Rose, you don't know anything about Zhang. Like, like she doesn't represent her government. That's not what she said. Like, she's not saying that Zhang represents the government. Like, that's not what she said. She said she doesn't like communists because her ancestors came from Eastern Europe and she doesn't like, it's a weird reason. Whatever. It doesn't matter. She doesn't like communists and she feels like Zhang is being censored. She might be wrong in what she's saying, like how she's feeling, but that doesn't matter. Like what she's saying is not like insensitive. It's not like inherently wrong or incorrect. It needs further investigation. And rooting against Rose simply because she's doing this is like one of the most benign things I've ever seen anybody go up in arms about. Like, dude, the shit that people say about like John Jones talking about Daniel Cormier's wife. Are you fucking kidding? You're going to tell me that was better than this because nobody was up in arms about that. They're like, haha, look at these two clowns yelling at each other. Boy, like,
or just the pure shit talk that has happened on every fucking level. And I mean, honestly, I hate to break it down by this, but how much shit talk happens in the men division that no one really says anything about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is potentially a level of this that goes to that too. Is, you know,
I hope not.
Female
but
fighters,
you're probably right.
Do female fighters have enough leeway for shit talk and pushing on each other and pressing on each other outside the ring as we give the male fighters? I mean, Conor McGregor threw fucking dolly through a bus window.
He hurt somebody
and potentially affected someone's career because of glass in their eye. And I would say he barely lost any fans over it. Yeah, he had a lot of people that were already rooting against him just root against him harder.
Oh, something we didn't talk about earlier this week. Jeremy Stevens versus Jakar Close. That fight got called off because Stevens shoved him at the weigh-ins, the face-off. And Close had like whiplash side effects, and he was like nauseous, and like he had a pinch, like he had like felt like a pain in his neck. Anyway, not good. It reminded me of it because like he hurt somebody outside of it. But what I'm saying, so as far as I'm concerned, this is relatively benign. If maybe this is what Rose needs to do to find something to, you know, fight for, to get herself psyched up to fight Zhang. That's some of the background on it. I think it sparks some incentive for people to watch because these idiots want to root against Rose. That's fine. I'm going to watch it because I think Zhang is probably one of
low-key one of the best female fighters in the UFC.
Yeah, like, period. I was going to say one of the best fighters in the UFC. She's like, she's strong, cardio for days because she's a strawweight. Great striking, enough grappling. And then Rose is one of the most, unorthodox female fighters I've ever seen. She flows in there. She hits really hard. She's got all the skills to be the champ. I mean, we were talking about that when she was on The Ultimate Fighter, like season 20 or whatever what it was, the strawweights. I think this fight's going to be fun. I'm leaning towards Zhang.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely.
I think Zhang gets it done. Yeah, I think, Andrade in that last fight that Rose had with Andrade, the first 2 rounds went to Rose easily, and then in the 3rd round, Andrade was coming back and starting to put it on Rose. And then, by the way, for everybody else who's listening, or for all the people who were like shitting on her for that fight, she did what she had to do. You guys are all idiots again. Like I can't stand this argument that like, oh, she got her ass beat in the last round. So what? That's not how scoring works. Please stop.
Yep.
And I saw it in the same thread that people were shitting on her for what she was saying. They're like, oh man, she got her ass beat in the Andrade fight. I hope she gets her ass beat now. Fucking racist. Like, so stupid. You guys are all idiots. I can't stand you. But I think Zhang gets it done. I think she's got the cardio. She's got really good striking, great strength. She's good in the clinch. I think Rose could catch her though. I think Rose has the power to catch her and the unorthodox grappling ability.
I think Rose has a better chance in this fight than Jorge has in his fight.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like I think
a turtle would have a better chance against Zhang than Masvidal has against Usman.
Yeah. Like, all right, I might not go that far, but I do think Rose.
Dude, turtles are crafty. They can hide in there for a long time. Zhang might just get tired.
I don't think she's gonna get tired.
All right, so we're both going with Zhang on this one.
Another incredible title fight on this card.
So I don't know why this is happening as the 3rd headline. As far as I'm concerned, this should probably be the headliner.
Yep.
As far as like talent.
As far as a more entrenched and champion with a better, just a clearer track record. Like
but also like a real fight that happened because the 2 people just won their last fights. Yeah, like that kind of thing.
Yep.
So Valentina Shevchenko is taking on Jessica Andrade. Andrade dropped down or went up to flyweight. She used to fight at bantamweight, then dropped down to strawweight, got the title. She ended up she knocked out Rose. She dumped her on her head and got the title, in which she immediately got knocked out by Zhang. Because Andrade had a chance against Joanna, but she just got destroyed. Joanna is just that's how cool strawweight is it's so about the matchups.
Yep.
And Joanna lost both fights to Namajunas, but had a split decision with Zhang. She could have been the champion. It's so much fun. Anyway, Valentina, probably the best female fighter on the planet. Her and Nunes, it goes back and forth. In my opinion, I think they're 1-1. So I'd like to see them fight one more time. One more time to find out definitively who the best female fighter is. Jessica Andrade, who is insanely strong. She's got good cardio. She hits hard. Not a super technical fighter.
I've got a controversial statement. Should this be the headliner?
Yes, that's what I just said.
Did I miss you say that? Yeah, I was going to say, from a purist standpoint, I would say this probably should be the headliner.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said this should be headlining.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you said this should be co-headlining.
No. This should be headlining.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a real fight. Yeah, Andrade is a great fighter, and I don't think I would have given her this title shot, but because flyweight has been just demolished by Shevchenko, she's a fresh face in the division. She's got it because she's coming off of a win. I think she provides a unique challenge to Shevchenko in that she has cardio, good grappling, and hits hard. And based off the last performance of Shevchenko, if that carries over to this fight, right? If that carries over to this fight, Andrade has a good chance.
It's an interesting fight for sure.
But if Shevchenko fights I don't know, the previous 20 fights, the previous 20 fights she's had, I think Shevchenko gets it done. I think, two of those losses, she's 19-3, two of those losses to Amanda Nunes, and one of them doesn't count.
I will never bet or pick against Valentina as long as she keeps doing what she's been doing, even if she has a close fight. Yeah.
She's super technical, very strong. She's a deceptively good grappler. She's sneaky in there, very smart, very, very high fight IQ.
Out of active fighters, probably definitely absolutely in the top 5 for fight IQ.
Yeah, she's so good.
Maybe top 3.
I'm not rooting for. I'm probably rooting for Shevchenko. I like her a lot. I think she's fun. All right, we got some fun fights here. Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman.
Yeah, I think we had talked about making this fight a couple months ago.
Probably.
I think after Uriah Hall's last fight, we had said Chris Weidman would be one of the better matchups for him. I
have no idea how this fight's going to go.
It's going to be incredibly interesting.
Because Uriah Hall could come out flat and, slow, and his head's not in the game. We've seen that happen multiple times. And Weidman goes out there and just grinds out a win.
We have seen both of these fighters come out with spectacular wins and very disappointing losses at key points in their career.
Yeah, I think the best thing that can happen, as sad as this is, I'm really sad about what I'm about to say. This actually makes me really depressed and sad. The best thing that could happen from this is Uriah Hall gets a spectacular highlight KO.
Yep.
It's better for the division. It lines up some fun fights for Hall, and the division moves forward. I think the second best scenario is that Weidman gets like a cool submission or like a fun knockout finish, because then now it looks like, Weidman could be challenging and maybe he's getting it back. So it's he's got
kind
the
of the same
recognition.
storyline for either of them with how this goes.
Right, but I think Hall has more in the tank. I think Hall has a little
more momentum behind him right now. He is.
Also, yeah. Well, yes. But mainly for me, it's his fighting style. I think it matches up really fun against the champ, and that's who, in my head, who I have him fighting against is the champion.
Yes.
So I think him versus Izzy is a fun fight. I don't know if he's going to win it. I don't care. I think it's fun. Him versus Kevin Holland, fun fight.
Fun fight. Yep.
strikers. I think him versus Derek Brunson again. They fought once before. I think that's a fun fight again. There's lots of fun fights for Hall. I don't know how many fun fights there are for Weidman. He's one of those veteran. He's not on the level of Glover Teixeira, where he can just like grind out wins. But that's the kind of wins you're expecting from Weidman at this point. Very technical, grindy, and he has to survive for the entire fight.
All right, so if Weidman wins this fight, I have something to throw at you. Weidman versus Gaslam.
They fought already. Weidman beat him. Weidman choked him out.
Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, if Weidman wins this fight, I think that would be
Oh, to get it back? Yeah, that'd be fine.
Run it back.
Yeah, that's a good makeup fight. Weidman, I don't know if Weidman gets like the credit he deserves for like how good he was on his come up, but also he had a little bit of the John Jones syndrome, because not that he was like banging hookers and doing cocaine or anything. I mean that when he was coming up, the division was kind of weakening and aging, and he just blew up the division, found good matchups,
athleticism, youth, and matchup combination that propelled him.
And again, I think Weidman's an amazing fighter.
Yeah, and not by accident.
No.
He won his fights.
Yeah, and he beat Anderson Silva when it was still Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe that Anderson Silva fell off a cliff ever. I think he's still a challenging opponent at middleweight. I don't know if he's active or if he officially retired. But, like, I think he's still a fun fight for anybody. Like, Uriah.
He's not BJ Penn. No offense to BJ Penn, because I fucking love watching BJ Penn growing up. But it's not like he went full BJ Penn and is,
or Chuck Liddell.
Or Chuck. Oh god, yeah. He didn't walk off the cliff like you were saying, like some aging fighters had.
Yeah. So I mean, we look at Uriah Hall's like past record here. So okay, so it's kind of a tale of like almost two careers here. It's like a 3-year period and then another 2-year period. So he beats Gegard Mousasi, and then loses to Whitaker, loses to Brunson loses to Whitaker via decision, right? Then loses to Brunson via TKO, loses to Gegard Mousasi via TKO. Remember he beat Gegard before with that amazing spinning back kick. Then he beats Krzysztof Jotko with a TKO. That was a good fight. Loses to Paulo Costa in a weird. He looked flat in that one. He was getting decent strikes off, but Paulo Costa looked really good. Then he knocks out Bevan Lewis, gets a win against Antonio Carlos Jr., which is an impressive one because Carlos Jr. is a great grappler, and then knocks out Anderson Silva. So, and he fought Kelvin Gastelum already. That's right.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Duh. He fought Kelvin Gastelum a long time ago.
Who?
Uriah Hall. He was the one who lost to Kelvin Gastelum via split decision on the Ultimate Fighter finale. I forgot about that.
I'd run that one back too. Honestly, whoever wins this fight, I would watch fight Kelvin Gastelum next.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if Uriah Hall wins, because he's on a 3-fight, that would be a 4-fight win streak. I would put him up against someone else in the top 5, like top 8, top 6.
I mean, if Kelvin Gastelum doesn't move back, he's still in the top 8.
Fine.
Well, I would also see like Uriah Hall fought Darren Till. I think that would be a good fight.
Yeah. That'd be fun. No, he has not fought Darren Till yet.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun fight.
That one.
Jared Cannonier might be fun. Jack Hermanson. Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, if he gets this win, I wouldn't even mind him fighting Marvin Vettori. Fun matchup. I think Vettori gets that one done. But yeah, I think Hall gets this done. I'm leaning towards Hall. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to tell if Hall got his shit together. I mean, beating Antonio Carlos Jr. is nothing to turn your nose up at, especially for, the type of style that you have to fight, because Shoeface is a great grappler. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Hall. I think Hall can get this done.
I am purely picking this out of fandom because I've been a Uriah Hall fan for like 6 or 7 years.
Since he got that crazy knockout on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, pretty much since then. And shit, I forgot he was fighting. The fight where he broke his toe and still won the fight. That was another fun one.
That wasn't Musasi.
No. Either way, yeah, I'm picking Hall. I've always been a big Hall fan. Nothing against Chris Weidman.
Huh. Yeah, I don't remember. All right, we got Anthony Smith coming back again, fighting Jimmy Crute. I don't know. I don't know where Anthony Smith is. I'm gonna lean towards Crute just because I don't know where Anthony Smith is in his
headspace.
Anything. In his career, where he wants to be, where he wants to go, that kind of stuff. So I'm leaning towards Crute. All right. Preliminary. The prelims will run through a couple of these fights. Alex Oliveira, the Cowboy, fun against Randy Brown. I think that's going to be fun. Dwight Grant.
Brendan Allen fighting.
Brendan Allen's very good.
Yeah.
Against Carl Roberson.
It's a good card. I mean, for a pay-per-view, as much as, we have hated on the headliner, overall, it's a very good card.
Yeah, no, listen. If this was Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal and the belt wasn't on the line, it was just a fight that they made, right? Which technically is allowed because the UFC has stated, here's what's funny. Because of the court case, the UFC has openly stated and had to publicly announce that the belt means nothing. The belts are given by the UFC, right? So the belts don't officially mean anything, right? Just because you have the belt doesn't mean you get these things. It just means that in your contract, there are championship clauses. Therefore, if you become the champion, you can get these things, right? It
can also be stripped for basically any reason.
Because exactly, because the UFC controls the belts. So what I'm saying is they could have Kamaru fight Jorge without the belt being on the line. They could just have a fight. It's if Kamaru, if they had this at a catchweight, it wouldn't be for the belt. Easy peasy. If they had this at 180, they have this fight take place at 180 pounds or 175 pounds. And then Usman fights Masvidal at 175. Belt's not on the line. It's a catchweight fight, and we just see it. I don't think anybody gives a shit. Because the people who want to see it are going to get to see it. And the people who don't want to see it because they don't want to see this guy getting the title shot again don't have to, then it doesn't matter because Usman's still the champ and he still has to defend it against a rightful contender.
All right. I can see that. That makes... I mean, but championship fights make pay-per-views more interesting when belts are on the line. I mean, ultimately, it's basically it's a marketing tactic. That's what the belt is basically a marketing tactic.
I'm not going to disagree with you because I wasn't I'm not in the headspace to think back all the way anymore. My brain's kind of drained right now. But my gut reaction is no. I think the championship belt is something that only matters to hardcore fans who want to see the champions fight more. And then that's not true. I guess you could be right because then a casual fan's this guy's the champ and this is for the championship belt. So I guess I just think that this fight specifically could take place without the belt and it would have as much intrigue.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. All right.
That's it for UFC 261.
Right. Boom. Done.
All right. All right. You want to go over Olympics?
Yeah, let's talk about it because it's coming up in less than 100 days, which I didn't realize.
Okay. I did not do research yet on the Olympic things, and I didn't think it was this close, but we'll go over yours.
Kumite.
That's not happening.
Yes, it is, technically.
Okay, what?
That's what it's actually being called. So, if you didn't know, karate was being added as an Olympic event this year, and it's got 2 different sections as it's being added. One is forms, and the other is sparring. The sparring is technically being called kumite.
Wait, hold on. There's the kata forms.
Yeah.
Is a Olympic event.
Yup.
Why?
Cause it's fucking Japan's Olympics. They can.
You're only allowed to like enter like a couple things.
Well, they fucking got karate, and they got it in 2 areas: kata forms and kumite sparring. I thought you would be interested in this because I was also surprised when I saw that. I was like, huh.
Well, the kumite I think is fun. I think the sparring, but I didn't know that wasn't already an Olympic event.
Yeah. Well, because you had taekwondo, judo.
Yeah, those are always. That's always in there. I thought karate was always in there.
I'd have to look up the history. It's not always been.
Really?
Yeah. Because there's some sports that go in and out. Like, remember when they tried to pull wrestling?
Yeah, that's stupid. Everybody can go fuck themselves.
That was one of the dumbest things they could possibly do.
I don't watch collegiate wrestling as much as I should have because I do appreciate the sport. You know, my father was a wrestler, my brother was a wrestler, and like I come from a family of wrestlers. Like I appreciate the sport a lot, and I should watch it more often, and I should be more informed about it. That being said, the Olympics was founded on fucking wrestling.
And in terms of some of the things that should be like staples of the Olympics are things that you can do in any country, regardless of the level of competition, coaching, and infrastructure there. All right. Like there's not karate gyms across the world or taekwondo gyms across the world in every single country, even though they're on every strip mall in the United States back in the 90s. Like it's not a universal thing. Wrestling is all but universal. You basically don't need anything. You can coach for it. You can, it does not need a bunch of infrastructure, generational knowledge to be able to build up a wrestling team for a country and send them to the Olympics.
Yeah, of course.
And have them be competitive.
You know what? You're right. I'm just going to say karate because I feel like an asshole when I say karate. Even though that's the correct pronunciation, I feel like a dickhead when I say it. It's like when I say Iran or Afghanistan, like or Pakistan. Like that's how you're supposed to say it, but I sound like an asshole, like a pretentious douche when I say it. Karate has never been in the Summer Olympics. It's making its debut in 2020. It's been lobbied for like since the 1970s. It's never received the requisite votes.
Mm-hmm. Now, how on earth is jiu-jitsu not in the Olympics after Brazil? I don't know. Like, I was surprised they didn't get it in when they had the Olympics in Rio, but
I don't understand why a lot of these sports are not in the Olympics.
Like jiu-jitsu absolutely unequivocally should be in the Olympics.
I mean, boxing's been in the Olympics forever.
Yeah.
I don't understand why other combat sports are not. And I've said this before on here, but for our newer listeners who haven't heard before, like the Olympics, the original Olympic Games back in ancient Greece, not the ones founded by Pierre de Coubertin, like not that guy, right? Mm-hmm. Not the modern Olympic Games. The original Olympic Games had all these things because the Greek city-states were in conflict with each other all the time and constantly going to war. And they're like, hey, guys, we can't keep doing this. We're killing each other. We don't have any people to farm, blah, 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 blah. So they're like, let's get our energy out and we'll compete with each other in a structured manner. There were 2 events that everybody was waiting around for. Yes, there was track and field type events. Yes, there were other events. Of course, the 2 most sought after events, wrestling. Greco-Roman is obviously that's where we get the name, but stand-up style wrestling with throws and tosses similar to judo and
pancrase as they've kind of.
No, what's the one from Russia?
Sambo.
Sambo's a dance. So similar to those 2 things, but they also had the pancration. The pancration was the crown jewel of the Greek Olympics. Pancration was no holds barred fighting. Okay, it has been a part of the Olympic Games since the very first Olympic Games. Now, you can distill that to a safer version.
It's also been a part of games in human history.
Yeah, physical altercations.
Yeah. Solving things with a controlled physical altercation has basically been like, in some form or fashion, a sporting event of the entirety of human history.
Yes. That's how like we stopped fighting with each other. And we just like, I'm a Packers fan and you're a Bears fan and we're going to hate each other, but not really that bad.
Yep.
Like,
hey, guess what we do have in the Olympics this year? Sailing.
That sounds like something like that. That sounds like something that's been in the Olympic events, like an Olympic event before.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it has been since like 1908 they've done sailing. But can anyone on the face of this earth name a gold medal sailor?
Oh, hell no. Are you kidding me? How am I supposed to name a sailor? I can't name, like, I know there's rowing.
So 2 other interesting events, there's 3 other ones which I thought were interesting, which are being added this year. Surfing is being added as an Olympic event.
That sounds pretty cool, because remember when they brought snowboarding in and everybody was up in arms? They're like, how is this a sport? Like, it's just like skiing, but it's on one board. Calm down.
So surfing is being added. Sport climbing, which I have to do more research on because I don't understand. Is it just like, did you get to the top the fastest? It just says it's classified as sport climbing. I have not looked up the rules for it yet. And they did add skateboarding, which is coming in this year.
So BMX racing and BMX freestyle are also in there.
Yeah. Basically X Games are being brought into the Olympics.
Which they should have been. Like those are good. Those are good sports. They're not harmful to anyone. They're productive. I think that there's a lot of skill.
Balance of skill, athleticism, and timing, and
there's a lot of skill that goes into those.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could argue skateboarding is basically gymnastics on wheels. Like, the types of events, tricks, and things that people are doing with their body in gymnastics, it's just people doing that on a skateboard. Like, it's...
Yeah, they got to balance, you got to, when you're grinding and that stuff.
Flips, tricks, spinning your body in different directions for a judge, landing cleanly. Like, it's gymnastics on a skateboard.
Hot flip, sweet tricks.
So yeah,
for anybody who watches the adventure or listens to the Adventure Zone, motherfucking Flip Wizard McGee over here. That's pretty cool. Skateboarding. I've always thought should, like, there's the X Games to me. Like, I know when we were kids, right, in the 90s, like, that was the whole, like, X Games, like, this is, these aren't your parents' games, like, hey. But, like, let's be honest, there's nothing extreme about them. Like, yes, they're a little dangerous because you're landing on, like hard ground and stuff, like with the BMX and with skateboarding and rollerblading and kind of stuff. But, I mean, luge is not a safe sport.
No. Well, it's accessible. It's a sport that's accessible to a lot of people that you can just go out, get a skateboard.
Very low barrier to entry.
Yeah, which I think is an important aspect of, what makes a lot of Olympic sports cool is when, you got a shot. No matter.
I think that's what the problem with a lot of the Winter Olympics, for me, is that, not only do you need equipment, it's just like you need snow. You need snow and cold, which for most of the world is not a thing. So, like,
the amount of infrastructure you need to build a competitive hockey team.
Yes.
That is going to somehow compete with the generational knowledge of the other fucking competitive hockey teams like that. Now that is a sport of pure and unequivocal barriers that you're trying to break through.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it on, with rollerblades and play, street hockey, and that's comparable, but it's way different.
Yeah.
Like the way everything moves, it's just not the same. Although I will say, because of technology, there is it's not ice, sorry. There is a substance that you can put down. I think it was actually in, what was that show Bam Margera used to do, where he used to mess with his parents all the time?
Shoot, I forgot that.
But anyway, at
Yeah.
one point he coated his parents' house in this material. It's like these, 4x8 pieces. They look like white plywood, right? But it's this material that you can skate on. It has a very low coefficient of friction, so you can actually wear real ice skates and skate on them. So you could make an outdoor all-weather rink with that material that's going to have a close approximate. I don't even know why I can't say that word. Anyway, an approximate feel to actually skating on ice without having to build up all that infrastructure. So, I mean, maybe in the future.
Yep. And so there's one other thing that I want to talk about, which we kind of pinged on 2 episodes ago. The potential for record-breaking performances at this coming Olympics.
Okay, which ones do you think is going to, which events?
So, first of all, I think we are going to see across the board a flurry of weightlifting records and weightlifting performances.
Okay. I'm looking for those in here. Is it just called weightlifting in here?
Yeah, Olympic weightlifting. And then...
Because I know that there's the snatch and then is it just an Olympic clean?
Hang clean.
The hang clean or the clean and jerk?
Hold on, let's see. Nope. Gotta look it up.
I know if I look up Olympic weightlifting, it's just going to give me a bunch of equipment because I've been buying a bunch of stuff lately.
Oh boy.
The snatch, right?
Yep, snatch.
The snatch and the clean and jerk.
Boom.
You know how I know those? Because I had a N64 game that was Australian Olympics, and I played the Sydney Olympics, and I played that one, and I could never do either one of those on there.
So going into
story,
this,
Brendan.
Weightlifting is awesome because, for one, it's accessible. Basically, anyone can pick up a weight, anyone can throw it around. But if you start going through weightlifting records, you're going to notice some very interesting things. What are some countries that you would expect to find in the world record weightlifting categories?
Eastern European ones. So Georgia, Latvia, Estonia, Russia, also, but depending on weight class, because China and Korea have some good lifters in the lower weight classes.
So which Korea?
North Korea.
Yeah. North Korea holds quite a few Olympic weightlifting records.
Do you know
China
why?
Holds a ton. You know what other country holds a lot? Iran.
That's true. You know what? They do have some strongman competitors as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you think is probably common amongst those countries?
Communist.
Oh yeah, obviously. How do you think? Do you think
communist
USADA,
roots?
Do you think what is fucking China's USADA called? WADA.
Non-existent.
Yes,
it's called do more drugs, please.
Is
LLC.
It's pretty much the polar opposite. So you've got countries that have state-sponsored doping.
Yeah.
You also have Russia up there, or North Korea. Absolutely unequivocal state-sponsored doping regimens. So you have countries where the entire infrastructure of the country is going into improving the athlete's performance and not going to say at all costs, but essentially with no rules or limitations on what they're willing to put forward.
I have no problem with this.
Yeah. So this should just be... What's going to be interesting is a lot of countries outside of the ones that already weren't drug testing basically stopped drug testing over coronavirus. Yeah. So not just the countries that we normally think about that have state-sponsored doping, but now a lot of countries that previously had stronger, anti-doping organizations were essentially non-existent for the past year and a half. And basically, it's going to create a more interesting playing field across the board. And I think raise the level of competition going into this summer's Olympics.
I think we're going to see peak human form in a lot of events.
Oh, yes.
Not necessarily record. So here's the thing. I'm not as confident because I did think about this. I'm not as confident that records are going to be broken because there is something to be said for altitude. Although, where are they having it?
It's Tokyo, so it's not going to be.
But where? Okay, let's look at the altitude of Tokyo because it's right by.
It's shoreline. I mean, you got Mount.
I know Mount Fuji's there. Yes, I know.
But actually, like Tokyo.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's 131 feet. Never mind.
Yeah.
So it's very close to sea level, so that's good. Weather also plays a factor, like how cold it is when they're going, right? Because the perfect temperature for certain things, especially outdoor events, like you want it to be slightly colder or slightly warmer depending on the distance of a run, for example. Like the longer distance runs, like the optimal temperature to run a marathon, I think, is like 49 degrees or something like that. It's the temperature at which,
ironically, I should probably know this, but I definitely have never looked it up.
it's the temperature at which your body hits equilibrium during high output over long periods of time. So it's like your body has to do the least amount of work to keep you cool, and it doesn't have to work to keep you warm while you're running, right? Like, because if you're in sub-zero temperatures, even though you're running and producing body heat, your body's still trying to keep you warm, so it's exhausting. And vice versa. Like if it's too warm and you're running, your body can't get rid of all the heat unless there's a ton of wind, right? So the perfect temperature to go is real field temperature. I think is is 49 degrees or something like that. So that's when most records are broken. So the same thing is said for that. So I bring all these things up just because like there are a lot of factors that go into making world records, especially when it comes to the finite numbers and like the decimal points that we're currently getting to with how like peak human performance has gotten. Like I will give you that I think weightlifting is probably going to go up. Like Lasha Talakaje from Georgia, like he earlier this year lifted overhead more weight than anybody has ever lifted in an Olympic style lift. So I think we'll see the best competition this year.
I think there's also been, I don't know exactly what the Olympic, training camps have been like, but I have to imagine there's been fewer distractions.
Oh yeah, because no one can go see him.
Exactly, like no one can do anything. So
yeah,
around the world, you have basically everyone that has no choice but to either focus on their training or do nothing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Never thought about that. Yeah, their training might be better too. Oh God, I might actually watch a lot of Olympic events this year.
I'm planning on it. I think I'm going to plan on it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to break it down because there's some events which I think are going to be really fun to watch this year.
Dude, did you see that guy's abs? He's so on shit.
AKA everybody there.
Yeah, everybody's going to be.
Let's be real. Hold on. I'm not saying that only those countries are using them.
Oh, no, of course not.
Everybody at the Olympics is using. It's just
they have always been using.
Yes. It's just whether or not they're being tested, and
or how
that's
often
going to affect what types of substance they're taking, the protocols, and how those there's different factors. And there's also something to be said for the model that you get in certain communist countries where now that's your life, like the way that's been talked about with the Cuban wrestling camps or Cuban boxing camps, those Olympic camps that they had in Cuba where a kid goes in there like a Spartan at 7 years old and they live there and that's their life, is training for that sport.
Yeah, and the competition haven't been injected while they're kids.
Oh yeah, but the competition that type of grind produces when you essentially have nothing else in the world to worry about, like you're not going to college working on your business degree while you're training figure skating.
You're not learning how to spell, right? You're learning how to do takedowns and throw jabs.
It's your life is that sport and success in that sport. So there's something to be said outside of just the state-sponsored aspect of it, but the environment of countries that want to win Olympic medals.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we'll see, people will congratulate those countries. They'll be like, look, this tiny little country with this small population produces the X amount of athletes in this sport. And it's like, we congratulate them. But if you really broke it down and you looked at like a lot of these impoverished nations, like putting all this effort into taking care of like one small sect of their population and driving them away from their families just to succeed in a sport, it's not as glamorous anymore, is it?
Nope.
You know,
Nope.
like the United States isn't perfect, but I'll take our strategy of, letting people decide, parents can do that. They can push their children into things and be successful and that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'll take that any day of the week over the government taking my kid away and saying, hey,
But
she looks like she was really good at hockey. So
Jordan Burroughs can still go home and eat just because he lost a spot on the Olympic team.
Yeah, and he can also whoop the absolute dog shit out of almost everybody on the planet.
But my point is, in other countries, if he had lost his spot on the Olympic team, he lost his meal check. Like, he lost his ability to feed himself.
Because he doesn't have anything else. He didn't go to college.
Yeah.
Like, Jordan Burroughs went to college. He has a degree.
Yeah. He's fine.
Yeah.
If you're in another country and you failed to make your Olympic team that you've been training your whole life for since you were 7.
Yeah, go back to Cuba, and also you're poor in Cuba. Have fun.
Oof.
No thanks. I'll pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
This has been a lot. Again, thank you guys so much for making it this far. I really appreciate it. I just hit the mic. It's good.
How dare you?
Yeah. If you guys please comment below, let us know what you like, what you didn't like. Tell us to talk about something else, please. Yeah. Just give us some more things you want to hear about.
If there's anything you're looking forward to the Olympics that you want us to talk about, if you want us to break down table tennis, I will break down the top 5 table tennis players in the world.
Dude, I play every damn day now.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I love ping pong so much.
Yeah,
I will. Ping pong, tennis, basketball. I want to cover all of it.
Yeah, trampoline. We'll go.
I just got one of those too.
It's also an Olympic event.
No, no, it's not.
Not gymnastics.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Are you serious?
I have the Olympic website open right now.
Yeah, outlying venues, mountain biking, baseball, surfing. That could be fun. Taekwondo, wrestling. Where's trampoline?
You go to Olympic.org.
Yeah.
Summer Olympics. Scroll down to T.
You've got to be kidding me. What the hell is trampoline? He jumped real high, dude.
Join us next time as we break down the
I mean, I'll look it up, but I'm not like.
No, we're not.
It's probably just gymnastics on the trampoline.
Yeah. All right,
everybody. Hope everybody has an awesome day. Thanks for sticking in. Bye.
See ya.